and it was tactically well done. They stifled Atletico. They never let them get any kind of rhythm, and it was comfortable. And I echo what Rio says, where if that is the best La Liga's got to offer, then it must be in trouble, because Chelsea cruised through that. And you could arguably not Chelsea's best side without Kante.
I think we've got a line through Chelsea when they beat Sevilla 4-0 away from home. You knew that La Liga isn't what everybody was talking about. Very disappointing performance from Atletico Madrid, but not a big surprise for us all. We spoke about them before the game. Not one shot on target. I know it's a home-away game, if you know what I mean, playing in Bucharest. But you expect more from them. You expect more from Diego Simeone's side. A bit more fight, a bit more aggression. There was nothing today. They almost looked as if they were scared, as if they played for a 0-0. Let's try and hit them at Stamford Bridge. And it's not good enough at the moment to win big games like this.
OK, Chelsea will go back to London very satisfied.
100%. I mean, when you play an away game, albeit a neutral away game, but if you play an away game in Europe, you get a 1-0 win, you go home with that, you're laughing, you're on that flight, buzzing to get back. And you could maybe even afford to kind of switch it up a little bit, because like they did today, there was players on that bench who you think actually their starters probably in his best team. So you'll be able to shuffle the pack again. But I think that the Chelsea team, I don't think if they're professional about it, that they'll sail through, because this isn't the Atletico Madrid team of, I think, the years we've seen them in the recent.
I think we've talked about La Liga and stuff. You know, they're so dominant in European football for a decade, weren't they? Won the Europa League almost every year. Real Madrid and Barcelona winning the Champions League. Looks like it's time that's shifting, isn't it?
Oh, it's definitely shifting. I mean, this team, they looked a shadow of themselves. There wasn't any intensity. I looked at the midfield and I thought, well, it's going to be a tough one for Chelsea in there today without Kante. And Chelsea just dominated. I mean, it wasn't as clear-cut as Chelsea were creating chance after chance, but they controlled possession. Tactically, they was in charge of the game. And I was surprised Simeone didn't mix it up earlier. And I can't see how they can lay a glove on Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. I may be wrong, because he is a great manager. It's been proven, but I think they're a long way off it.
I think 12 months ago, obviously, when they beat Liverpool in the second leg, they'd won the first leg by a goal to nil, hadn't they? This is very different. This is a mountain to climb.
Yeah, it is. And when you see them tonight, they just look bereft of any creativity. Yes, they've got star names when we look at them. But when you look at the Chelsea side and the Chelsea bench, Chelsea look much stronger than them. They look as if they've got more pace than them. They look as if they've got more creativity. They've got more options off the bench. And when you're talking about, you know, Koke and Sal Niguez, they've been around Thomas Lemar. They've been around for years and years and years in an Atletico Madrid shirt. So they're not really surprising us anymore. And I think that's where you can take it at face value. When you look at all the leagues across Europe, you can see the weaknesses in a lot of the leagues. And, of course, the pandemic has hit the Spanish league more harshly than it has in other spaces. We know that. And I think it showed tonight. I think we all fancied Chelsea before the game. And normally you wouldn't say that in a so-called away game, would you, against Atletico Madrid?
Certainly very true. We had to wait a while for the only goal of the game, and we had to wait even longer with VAR. It seems to take an eternity to give what was apparently pretty obvious.
Yeah, it was about 2.5 minutes, or just over that, I think it was in the end. But listen, we spoke at half-time about crossing the ball when you've got someone like Giroud in there. It creates havoc, and then this finish cannot be underestimated. Yes, the ball comes off of an Atletico Madrid boot. How the defender kicks the ball back over his head in his own box baffles me.
Kicks.
It's difficult. I think it's harder to do. That's the hardest bit of it for him. But then it's all about Giroud. I mean, Maka, you would have done a couple of these in your time, no?
Oh, you felt sorry for Giroud because he couldn't celebrate like you'd expect him to celebrate. It was very anticlimactic, but what an incredible finish. He scored 4 against Sevilla. He scored another goal again against Spanish opposition. And it was a wonderful, wonderful finish, wasn't it, to win the game?
And he's got previous to this, and he's got a collection of these type of goals.
Yeah, he's
so athletic. You know, and again, I'm like Maka. It's just a shame that he couldn't really celebrate and really go for it, because that is one of
It's almost 2 celebrations, though. You know, but look at the positive and look at that record this season.
But I would say as well, Gary, it was good to watch the whole team celebrate with him. That was good to see eventually.
Yeah, a bit of togetherness is always important, and wins bring that as well, don't they? It's very easy to have team spirit when you're winning. But we'll just before we move on, let's have a little word with Peter Walton, over my right-hand shoulder, up there in his little perch. Peter, you explained to us in the game why you think it took so long, even though it looked relatively obvious to us, but tell us again.
Yeah, it took a little time because obviously the German VAR has got to look at a number of things, and one of those things was there a possible handball in the build-up from Giroud, which we saw it wasn't, and the fact then he had to adjudicate whether or not the defender had made a deliberate play on the ball. And as we can see here, he deliberately goes to hook the ball away from Mason Mount there, which he does. Of course, it goes back to Giroud, who is in an offside position, but because the law says if the ball is played deliberately, that negates the fact you're in an offside position, it's a good goal. And I think the VAR was correct in the interpretation of the law.
So if he was in that offside position there and it had, say, bounced clearly just off the defender's hip there, for example, which clearly wouldn't be a deliberate movement towards the ball, then he would have been offside.
That's correct, absolutely
Really?
right. Yeah, the difference is either it's a deliberate act or it's a deflection. If it's a deflection, then Giroud would have remained in an offside position.
Peter, can you tell me who's making the laws up these days? I know it's referees by and large. But
Yeah, so all my friends.
Horrendous rule.
it's weird, isn't it?
It's just more baffling than anything.
But anyway, thanks very much for your input, as ever, Peter. It was a great goal, whichever way you look at it, and it's a kind of goal deserved to be given, eh?
Yeah, he deserves to be given. And he got us all off of our seat. And then Giroud's done that many, many times in his career. And he had nothing. We were saying at half-time, Atletico give you the width, and you've got a centre forward that will attack the ball. If he don't score, he's going to cause mayhem like he did there. It was the first time Chelsea had a decent bit of play, got it wide. Alonso's got a great left foot. He just fed it into an area, caused chaos, and then a little bit of genius from Giroud wins you the game. Probably wins you the tie.
Yeah, it does. Werner, again, we've talked about him before the game. He got his goal a week or two ago. We thought perhaps the floodgates might open, but he had a couple of half chances. Not easy.
Yeah. It's just frustrating watching him because you've seen clips of him and you see what he can do. I mean, I feel it's not an easy chance, but you'd like to see him get it on target and get a better connection on the ball. But he just frustrates you. Great from Mason Mount there. Gets into these areas, makes the keeper make a save, yeah, fair enough. But there's far too many times he's so loose in possession when building up or decision-making when he gets into these areas here at times. He's just... Obviously, there's not many people in the box, so you maybe wait and delay a little bit and then bide your time.
Goal as well, didn't it?
I mean, that was late on in the game, that particular effort. They were 1-0 up, just chop back a bit and bide a bit of time. There was one when he broke down the left foot, and his first touch took him away from the goal. And, Joe mentioned it before, he just needs to sit down, study a few clips. This is where you're going right, this is where you're going wrong, refine it, and he'll be fine. His pace is brilliant.
Sometimes you've got fast players, sometimes have to slow the game down a little bit in their mind. They're running so fast, everything seems to be a blur, and then that's maybe how he seems at the moment.
Yeah, it was like a young Theo Walcott, wasn't it, when we used to watch Theo play? He was so excited. It was so exciting, so much talent. But it weren't until the latter stages of his career when he put it all together and started scoring more goals regularly. We're not going to give up Tino Werner. It's early days and there's so much scope there because he has got some natural raw ability. But I reckon with good coaches, and they have got good coaches, he will start to kick on. We just need to be patient with him.
I think what the clip you talked about there was probably involved Mason Mount. Brilliant bit of play. He had another good game from Mason Mount. The downside of yellow, we'll miss the second leg, which Chelsea will miss him.
Do you know what, Gary? We praised him to the hilt before the game, and even when there was nothing in the game, when it was a bit, he was the one who was looking to probe. He does, and the reason why footballers love him so much is because he does everything right. He's in the right positions defensively and attacking, but he's also got that little bit of magic. And he was a threat. He looks like a leader, and I thought he was brilliant tonight again.
I think what I like about him as well is you very rarely see him just standing still. This is beautiful.
This is the
pass. This is a great ball as well.
That just lets this move down, that touch there, away from him, and then the left foot finish. The left foot cross was disappointing, but he looks really sharp, Mason Mount, all the time.
Every game, unbelievable energy. The amount of football he's played.
Yeah, I think he needs to be looked after because he's such an important part of the team.
He's a bit unlucky to get.
He was really unlucky, wasn't he?
Really unlucky. And they had to play most of the game with that.
Yeah, I think they need to look after him, Chelsea, because you have to remember he's still a young lad. You can't rely on him all the time. He needs to be dropped in and dropped out and managed for the big games. But he's so important for the club at the moment.
Yeah, Luis Suarez is still a